Welcome to another edition of DX Engineering Videos. We're here today at Contest University 2018 in downtown Dayton, Ohio at the Crown Plaza. And I'm very pleased to welcome Frank Donovan, W3LPL.
Thank you, Tim. Pleasure to be here.
It's great to take a few minutes away from Contest University. Frank, a lot of people know about your amateur radio operations and your station, but not many people probably know how you got started. So, how did it all happen?
It's a story that I've never heard anyone else describe in quite the same way. I grew up in a family where my my grandparents lived in the same home. We lived in a three-story home, similar to the Archie Bunker homes of old ours. It was a three-story home. My grandparents owned the home. We lived on the third floor, and my family lived on the first floor. When I was about 7 years old, my grandfather started to engage me in building one-tube radios. So some people ask me, well, when did you get started in ham radio? And I have a consistent answer. And the answer is I started in 1922. And people look at me and say, how can that possibly be? Well, everything my grandfather knew about radio, he learned when he was about 20 years old, when broadcast radio started. And once he had children, he put all that aside, but saved it. So he had all of this knowledge and 1920s equipment put aside in case someday he would ever want to use it. And then the reason came along, and that was me.
Oh, that's great.
So we built one-tube radios for a couple of years.
And so you get licensed in what year?
1959.
In 59. And your original call was?
K3LR.
Wow. And you were living in?
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
In a very densely populated urban neighborhood.
And so you go to high school and then on to college.
Yeah.
And you during college, do you operate the ham radio? Do you are you in a club?
Oh yeah, of course. Wouldn't be me otherwise.
Where does the contesting bug? Where do you pick that up?
Well, that begins long before college. So, kind of the progression from one-tube radios was like a lot of shortwave. So, going to shortwave listening, I was given an S38D receiver for Christmas one day, and then you discover shortwave broadcasting, and in that area you discover hams on AM working DX. This is like 1957. So they're working the world at the top of the sunspot cycle. So I went out and bought a call book. There was a radio store not far away. Bought a call book. I could find out where the local hams were working these DXs, and I was an outgoing person then. So I drove up with my bicycle and introduced myself to some of these hams. And one of the first hams I met, it's kind of interesting. He was a DXer. That was what really interested me, was to listen to these guys working the world. So this fellow had a 75A3, a Johnson Globe King, and a 3-element 15-meter beam on a rotating tower. Sound familiar? And when I watched what he had, I've got to get into this. So another one of the hams I met in the same way by bicycling to his house said, let me bring you to the radio club. And we all know that's the best way to get into this hobby, is to a radio club. Right. So I was still not licensed, and he brought me to the club, and they had a field day a month later. No kid could do this today. Their parents would never allow it. But back in the 50s, I asked my parents, 12-year-old kid, can I join all these men for 2 days? Sure, go ahead. Unthinkable today.
But it worked out okay.
But it worked out great. So that was field day 1959, W3LPL on Nuda Conconet Hill.
Wow.
I bet you can't say that word.
No, I can't. I cannot.
2 miles from my home.
So when is the first time you get exposed or operate at a multi-multi operation?
That was PJ9T, is that the call of John Thompson station? Anyway, in Curacao at W1BIH's contest station. And we won the world with some PVRC members and DJ3KR from Germany and others. And it was great.
So what year was that? Do you remember?
1974.
Wow. And so you go
just yesterday.
You go on to build a world-class multi-station where you host PVRC members and operators from all over the world.
Yeah.
And how much fun has that been?
Oh, it's been great. The first one was a very low-key one in 1978. There were 4 or 5 of us in a CQ Worldwide contest, and decided, well, that was a good start, but we've got a long, long way to go before we can get serious in this. But by the time the next year came along, we were more serious. And then in 1982, an amazing thing happened. We were at the top of the sunspot cycle there. Didn't expect to do especially well. We were typically finishing 3rd, 4th, 5th back then. But I had a 10-meter antenna that was very high compared to what was common in those days. Back around that period, not many people had antennas much over 100 feet high. And my 10-meter antenna was 140 feet high. And we had exceptional openings to Japan on Friday and Saturday night on 10 meters. You remember when that happened?
Yeah, I do.
Hasn't happened lately. And we worked nearly 1,000 JAs on 10 meters.
Jeez.
And we won that contest. It was never expected.
Right.
We won it. And our competitor at the time was K2BU. They missed both openings.
Wow.
So you never know what's going to happen. You know that from our experiences with competitions. You enter them and you might have some preconceived ideas of what might happen, but you never know.
And so you have another hobby within the hobby, and that is you're very intrigued and have researched a lot in the areas of propagation.
Yeah.
And I think you spend a lot of time trying to figure out propagation.
Yeah.
And that's something that you really enjoy.
And importantly, honestly, my real interest is that, but it takes it another step, and that is to try to help then interpret it for other hams so they understand it better. So it isn't just for my own purposes, but be able to share that in language that other people understand so that they understand things better also. And
of course, that's what you do here at Contest University. Frank teaches almost every session here at CTU, and is probably one of the most requested professors that we've had here over the years. So we're very thankful for the way Frank gives back to amateur radio, a hobby that's been good to him, and certainly good to me and to the hundreds of people that are here today at Contest University. So thanks to all of you for watching another edition of DX Engineering Videos.